In this lesson, we're going to cover the prototype tab in detail. We're going to go through how it functions and how you can use it in your own projects. So first off, this design is a two-screen design. I have Artboard 1 and Artboard 2. They share the exact same elements in just different positions. So this underline is the exact same thing as this. I've just changed the height value. So if I go to my layers panel, you can see I have image/line over here, and everything else also shares the same names. So we have single elements such as this underline, this heading, and this body text, but we also have a grouped element such as this text and rectangle to make a button. So let's switch over to the prototype tab and get started. So first off, how the prototype tab works is you'll see this home icon here. That's allowing me to start the prototype tab on a certain screen. So if I select 2 and I check that home button, this is now where it's going to load up when I select a device preview or a desktop preview. So this screen is the starting screen. So if I set that back, you'll notice that it loads up on that screen. So once you've set your starting point for your prototype, you can either select a single element, a group of elements, or an artboard. And once you've done that, you'll notice you have this little blue icon. This is going to allow you to drag out a wire. You can drag this to any artboard you would like. Since we only have this one, we're just going to drag it and drop it onto Artboard 2. You'll notice the connection between the two with this line. So how prototyping works in Adobe XD is you have a trigger, and you have 4 to choose from when you have an artboard selected. When you have an element selected, you only have 3. So that confuses some people. You can only have the timed trigger when you're using a connection between artboards, not a single element. So you might want to remember that. So once you have a trigger selected, Adobe XD then does an action, and you can set this between these different options down here. So if we have transition selected, it's going to go to the destination, which we've already set by connecting the wire. It's going to do an animation, and you can choose a number of these from this list. We'll do push left. You can set the easing and then the duration, so how long you want this to go. So we'll do 1 second. So now if I tap anywhere on this artboard, it is going to transition to this artboard, and it's going to run the push left animation, and it's going to ease out over 1 second. So let's load this up with the live preview. I can click anywhere. My mouse cursor, you notice, is changing, so it's notifying me that I can click. And when I do, we have a push left animation over 1 second with an ease out. Now we're going to take a look at auto animate before we look at the rest of the different triggers. So I'm going to select this button, and I'm going to drag the wire over to this second artboard. I've also cleared all the other links between these two. So this is the only link that's going to take us to this artboard. So we have the tap trigger. And instead of doing a transition this time, we're going to select auto animate. So auto animate is the reason I have all these layers the same name, and I'll explain in a second. So we'll do an ease out over, let's do 2 seconds so it's nice and visible. When I hit the live preview for this and I select this button, you're going to notice things are going to animate. Just like that. And that's working with auto animate. So what auto animate does is it looks at the first artboard. So it takes a look at all these elements on the screen. You'll see their names over here. And it's going to check this artboard and say, well, is this element over here as well? So here's button 1, and then here's button 1. So it knows that these two elements are the same, and it's going to look, what are the differences between these two artboards? Well, on this screen, this one slides all the way down to the bottom. So it's going to animate that to this position. Another example of this is this underline up here. I've named this rectangle image/line. Over here, we also have image/line. So Adobe XD is noticing that this has changed the height value. And so that's what's happening when I go from one screen to the next. It's just animating all these elements into their next position. So this is just scratching the surface of auto animate. You can do so much with this. It's extremely cool, and I'm glad Adobe added this. So before we move on, I just want to show you another example of what auto animate can do. I have these 4 artboards that I've designed, and if I select the live preview, this is all done in Adobe XD. So if I select the food, you'll notice we have a lot of motion going on, and I can drag this over to that position and click add item, and we have a lot of motion. You know, after a certain amount of time, you'll see it goes back to normal, so then I can do the animation all over again. And again, that is all with Adobe XD, which you should learn in this course how to do every bit of that. So now we're going to take a look at drag. So that's another trigger option. So here I have 2 cards grouped together. One is in the center and one is off to the right, symbolizing that the user can swipe on this or drag over to reveal the second card. So this is the finished state. This is when the second card is on the screen and one is over here on the left. So we just select the element and we drag the wire over to the next artboard, and we're going to change the trigger to drag, and this is going to use auto animate, and we'll do no easing. So now we're going to want to drag back. So I'm going to select this element and drag over here and select auto animate. And if I hit the preview, I can drag between these two cards very easily. And again, you want to make sure this grouping and this grouping have the same name in the layers panel. So if I open that up, you'll see this is named group 3, and this is also named group 3. That's going to ensure that the auto animate actually works and that you can see the drag effect just like that. So now we're going to take a look at the voice trigger. So I have this artboard right here linked up, and we're going to change this to voice. And we're going to enter a command, and this is what Adobe XD is going to look for when we speak. So we're going to say Fortnite skins. And I just want this to transition, and I'm going to dissolve this. So if I hit live preview, I need to now hold spacebar on Mac, Fortnite skins. And it's going to switch to that screen for me. So now we're on the searching screen. So I'm going to select the 6th artboard, and I'm going to drag a wire over to the 7th. And this one's going to be a time trigger. And we're going to set the delay at 1 second. The transition is going to be set to dissolve. So now when I hold spacebar and say our command, Fortnite skins, it's going to sit there for 1 second and then switch to our search results. And let's actually change this to look a little bit better. Let's do a transition of push up instead. Fortnite skins. And then it slides in from the bottom. Nice. Next, we want to confirm our search. So we can do something called a speech playback. So I'm just going to select the 7th artboard and select the wire itself by clicking on it. And after a 1 second delay, so we're using the time trigger again, we're going to change the action this time to speech playback. And we're going to put something like, here is your search results for Fortnite skins. So now this time, Fortnite skins. It's going to do the delay.
Here is your search results for Fortnite skins.
And there is our speech playback. So far in this video, we've covered the tap, drag, time, and voice triggers. We've also covered the transition, the basics of auto animate, and speech playback for the actions. Previous artboard we're not going to cover just because that's going to do exactly what it says. When this trigger is met, it's going to take you back to the artboard you were on before. Lastly, we have overlay. So for overlay, I have this 8th artboard here, and we have a 9th one, and it just has this nice little card on it. And I have some drop shadow on there, so I've expanded the boundary of that artboard so you can actually see it. And when we select our button grouping, we drag our wire to this 9th artboard, which is our card. We have a tap trigger set. We can choose an action of overlay. And I'm going to drag this, and you'll see when I drag, I can actually see that artboard and where it's going to be positioned, so I can align this visually. I'm just going to put it all the way down here at the bottom. You'll see this green box. That's the boundary of my artboard. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to have this slide up, and we'll do that over 0.6 seconds. So if I do my live preview and I select this, you'll see my overlay slide up there on the bottom. And if I just click anywhere, it'll close off of the screen for me. So you can do sidebar menus, you can do overlay menus, you can do all kinds of things with this, and it's really cool. So that's it for the prototype tab in Adobe XD. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. As always, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next lesson.